Hey friends, I'm Scott Hanselman. This is a very niche video for a very niche audience. What we're going to do here today is we're going to set up Nightscout, which is a blood sugar management system, an open source blood sugar management system. We're going to set it up on Azure, and the goal is to do it for free. So the goal here is to set up a database and a website and get it up and running and pay nothing and have it be always free. And there's lots of different ways to do this, but there hasn't been a good write-up on how to do it reliably on Azure. So we're going to do that right now. This is assuming that you have signed up for an Azure account and you're set up. You would go to azure.com/free. You'd start up, sign up. They may ask you for your credit card, but we're not going to be doing any of that. Everything that we're going to do is going to be free because there's a ton of free services that stay free, and we're just going to use those. Okay. I want to write this down in Notepad to make sure that it's clear what we're doing. All right. So we're setting up the Nightscout open source project, and we're going to need a database, and we're going to need a website. Okay. The database in Azure that we're going to be used is called Cosmos DB, and it talks to Mongo. It looks like Mongo. It pretends to be Mongo, but when you hear the word Mongo, it's called Cosmos here in Azure. And then websites are called app services in Azure. And we're going to set up our database first, and then we're going to set up our website, and then we're going to go and configure everything. Okay, there's a couple of things that need to be set up in Nightscout for configuration. So let's go and do that. We're going to go to the Azure portal. It's going to be at portal.azure.com. And I have a couple things that are already set up there, but we're going to assume you have nothing. And the button that you care about, the button that you're going to care the most about is this Create Resource button. So if you're following along, you can pause this video and we'll just go and do these things together. And this is the first time we've done this, so if I get it wrong, I'll just do this video again and we'll learn together because this is a beta test. You can click Create Resource, either this plus or this one here. I'm going to say Create Resource, and then I'm going to type Mongo right here. And I'm going to pick the Azure Cosmos DB for Mongo. That's the selection I'm going to make. All right, and I'm going to hit Create. And in this dialog box here, in this basics, we're going to make sure that we pick our free. And we're going to make a new resource group. A resource group in Azure is just literally a circle around a bunch of stuff. We're going to have our database, we're going to have our website, and all of our things, and we're going to put a circle around it, and we're going to give it a name, and that name is going to be a resource group. So I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to call it, we'll call it Nightscout Free. Okay, and you're going to hear about that. So anytime you want to put something in a bucket, the bucket we're going to use is Nightscout Free. Now, this is going to be our database, so we'll call it Nightscout DB. And then you can pick a location that's near you. The most important thing, the most important here is this. Apply free tier discount. That has to be there. It has to be checked. Apply your free tier discount. And then here we're going to say limit your account. This prevents unexpected charges. This button exists that says you're going to get this much storage, 25 gigabytes and no more, and you're going to get a certain amount of capacity. It's like, how many phone lines do you have? How many database things can we do at a time? An RU is a resource unit, and they're going to give us 1,000 for free, and that's going to be more than enough for Nightscout. So we're doing a free trial. We put it in a resource group that we made called Nightscout Free. We made an account name here for our database called Nightscout DB, and we clicked Apply. We're going to ensure that that's the case. All right. Now we're going to hit Review and Create, and we're going to double check. It's going to take 2 minutes, and it's going to be in the West US. You might want to pick your location. If you're in Europe, pick Europe. If you're in East US, pick East US. Doesn't really matter. But it's nice to have it closer to you than it is far. Now, you're going to get into this section here that says Deployment in Progress. And you see over here in the corner, there's like a little bell. This little bell is spinning here, and it's telling you that something's happening. You can click on the bell, and it's going to tell you that something's happening. And you can see now that the database is getting created. And this guy's going to spin around. And you can see when it says that it started, it's in our free subscription. And it's in our resource group, I'm going to wait until this is done. And when it's done, and this bell, it's going to pop down and say, I'm finished. It works. I'm ready to go. And you can see that it started just a few seconds ago. Now it's safe. It's okay to click around if you want to. One of the places you might want to click on would be where it says resource group here. And I like to right click and say open in new tab. You can have the Azure portal open in 2 places at once. So you can see here our resource group, free, right? Our resource group has one thing in it. It has a database in the West US, and it's still thinking about it. You can see here it says deploying, right? So we're setting up our database for the first time. I can switch tabs and wait for that to finish. Over here on the left, while we're waiting, we see all the other different stuff we can create. We're going to create an app service or a website in a moment here. So once our database is done, we're going to make our website, we're going to configure it, and we're going to see how to make that reliable. And having this be reliable is super important because you want your Nightscout sites to run 24/7. And in this case here, we're being a little selfish. We want it to be for free, right? Because we want this site to be free forever, and we don't want to worry about it. Okay. While that's happening, I am reminding you that the way that you set this up is usually from going into your Nightscout on GitHub. There's instructions on the Nightscout website. You fork, you make a copy of, or you fork, like a fork in the road, and you see that I have a copy of Nightscout here on my GitHub. All right, let's go back over here. The deployment is in progress. Again, it'll take 2 or 3 minutes. Should be done pretty soon. And Cosmos DB is what we're going to be using for that. It's a database that Azure has built in. They have a very generous free plan, and it looks like and acts like a Mongo database, which is going to make life really, really easy for us. And then we're going to then take the connection string for that database, and we're going to point our application at it. So our Nightscout application is going to go and create a bunch of collections of data, and that's where our blood sugar is going to get stored. Okay. Sometimes this takes a minute. Sometimes it doesn't take long at all. If you get impatient, you can slap on the refresh button there as much as you want. It's probably not going to be a big deal. Now I could do more multitasking, but I want to make sure that you actually see. Okay, here we go. Your deployment is complete. Go to resource. Okay, so I'm going to click go to resource. We want to make sure that we don't pay anything. So we're going to click on the Nightscout database. Okay, and then we're going to click on Data Explorer. They have a little friendly gentleman who's going to tell you about it. We can go ahead and close him. And I'm going to click where it says New Collection. I'm going to say New Database. And I'm going to name the database Test. That is an old vestigial thing that Nightscout does. They use databases called Test. And it's important that we have that checked and that checked, because remember, we only have a maximum of 1,000 resource units. That's the max of our free database. We don't want it to cost anything. So we're going to make sure with the free tier, you get 1,000 for free. Billing applies if you provision more than 1,000, but we're going to make our maximum 1,000. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to make that little database. It says here, creating a new database. Take just a moment. There we go. There's our database right there. All right. And then it says, congratulations. Your database for Mongo is ready. All right. We're going to click on Node.js because we are using Node for our application. Our Nightscout application is written in Node. And you're going to scroll down and you see this thing that says Node 2.2 and Node 3.0 driver. There's a line right here that says primary connection string. And if you click the little button right there, copy to clipboard, I'm going to grab that. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard, and I'm actually going to put that in Notepad. So I'm just going to launch Notepad. I'm going to paste that in. And that might look scary. You might see it like this, or you might see it without word wrap turned on. You can see how it's a very long string here in Notepad. And due to a small issue with the way that Nightscout does stuff, this section here that says max idle time MS, we're going to change that. So you're going to take a look here, and you're going to change this word that says max idle time MS. You're going to change that to socket timeout MS. I'm going to make that one change. And I've got that in my notepad. It's a good idea to have a notepad or a Word document open to keep track of these things. This is the connection string. It's got the name and the password. Now I'm showing you my name and my password, but you're not going to want to give that to anybody. That's going to be private. And I'm just going to go and put that in my clipboard. So I'm holding that and I'll minimize it, but I want you to know that my Mongo information is there. Now, let's go back. We're going to click on resource groups. I have a lot of them. You're going to have one, and it's going to be called Nightscout Free. If you get lost, if you are inside of Azure and you're clicking around and you're like, oh crap, I'm lost, you can just click up here in the search bar, and you can type Nightscout. And you can see our database that we just made, and you can see that resource group. I'm going to click on that resource group because I just want to confirm and see that I'm on my free trial and I have a database. I'm going to go and I'm going to create a resource. And over here on the left, I have all the different things I can make. I'm going to scroll down just a smidge here. You see that says web. It may also say web right here. We're going to make a web app. Okay, so you're looking for web app. You can find it here under popular services. You might find it down here in web. So I'm going to click on create a web app. So you want to be here. It says create a web app. Okay, now this is important. We're going to want to double check that we're on a free trial. We're going to check our resource group and we're going to pick our Nightscout Free. We're putting it in the same bucket. Okay, then we're going to call it Nightscout Web. Now this is important. I'm naming it Nightscout Web. It's going to put a green checkbox there saying that's available. If you're doing this now and you're following along in this video, it's not going to work because I already got that name. So you might want to call it Scott's Nightscout or whatever your kid's name is or whatever makes you happy, but you're going to call it something unique and your website is going to end up being whatever.azurewebsites.net, nightscoutweb.azurewebsites.net, scottsbloodsugar.azurewebsites.net. Pick something that is unique and pick something that is easy to remember. All right. Now we're going to publish this not from code, but we're going to publish it from a Docker container. A Docker container. This is going to make it really, really easy for us to deploy this, to put this website up. It's going to be the easiest, most reliable way. So we're not going to click code. We're going to click Docker container. We're going to pick Linux. Now here in that region, you remember that I picked West US. I can pick that again, but this is important. I need to make sure that I'm not paying. I don't want a premium. I don't want to pay for this, right? So we're going to need to make ourselves a plan that's going to be a free plan. So we'll say Nightscout plan. We're going to make ourselves a plan that's going to be free, and we're going to click change size. This is important. This is the step. Here's your paid for, and you can see here this would be $80 a month. If I go here, this would be $13 a month. If you want a reliable, inexpensive setup, this is very fine. Works just great. It is $13 a month, but we're going to pick the free one. Okay, and we're going to hit apply. So I'm confirming that I have a nice new Nightscout plan, and it's a free F1. Okay, it's a free. And you want it in the same region as your database. So if you have your database on the East Coast, make sure your website's on the East Coast. Okay? All right. We can skip the rest of that. We're just going to confirm it's in our free trial. We have the same resource group we've been using. We give it a nice name, Docker, Linux. We make a plan and we confirm that it's free. Now we're going to click where it says Docker, Next Docker. So we're going to go and we're going to use a single container, and we're not going to do the quick start. We're going to go from the Docker Hub. The Nightscout team puts copies of Nightscout up here in Docker Hub. You can see that they put a latest one 7 days ago, and you see it says latest. I'm scrolling down, there's all kinds of stuff. Here's the latest one as of the time of this video. It actually has a specific version number. Now, if you know what Docker is, you know the difference between latest and the version, but you can go and decide what you want to do. I'm going to recommend to our friends watching the video that they type in Nightscout/CGM remote monitor, and then a colon, and then a specific version. In this case, it's going to be for 14.2.6 as of the time of this video. But if you know what you're doing and you are clever enough, you can also say latest. But I would recommend 14.2.6 right now. And then when a new version comes out, you can just change that to .7 or whatever. Okay, we're going to hit review and create, and then we're going to read this very carefully. So it's going to give us a list. Confirm estimated price free. There you go. Looks great. You confirm you're coming from Nightscout. That's where we know the code is coming from the Nightscout friends. And it's going to be a free plan. And then we're going to go and hit create. And just like we did before, we've seen this page before. We're in our free trial. We're in our free resource group. And we're deploying this. So it's putting that out onto the internet for us. Okay. Now, we've made a database. We're making a website, but we haven't connected the two together. So we have to connect the two together. And that's going to be coming back to our connection string. This is the string. A string is just a long sentence that's going to describe how to talk to our database. So I'm going to put that in my clipboard. I'm just going to right click and hit copy or hit Control C. That's now in my clipboard. Okay. And then we're going to go to this resource. We're going to go to this new website that we just made. Here's our URL. This is our location. I'm not going to click that yet because it's not going to work. If I do click that, it's going to start up and it's going to say, oh, I don't have a database. What are you doing, you silly? It's going to think about starting up, but it's going to then fail, and it's going to tell you that I don't have the information that I need. And again, you can go and look at the instructions and learn about how Nightscout works, but this will take a couple of minutes to kind of spin up as it starts that container. Again, if you're technical and you want to see what's happening, you can come down here and look at the stream of logs, and you can see what's happening in your application. You can come here and it'll just be spitting out, hey, we're thinking we're starting up, but we're not going to do that right now. Okay. I am going to click on configuration because we're going to go and tell our new Nightscout all about the configuration. So we're going to click on configuration, and then we're going to come in here and we're going to make a new setting. MongoDB _URI. Oops. There we go. We're going to paste in that long string. We made that small change. That'll be a bug that we'll fix. We're going to hit OK. So that is down here. It's a hidden value, but I can click on it to see it. Then I'm going to set up my API secret. Again, this is the instructions that we have. My secret. I'm just calling mine my secret. Call yours whatever you want. And then I'm going to paste in a couple of other ones that I use for my setting. Like I have pump fields. These are all specific to you. What plugins that you want. For example, I use a lot of different plugins. So I'll say show plugins. Put those in. And then I tend to enable a bunch of features in my Nightscout. So I'm going to say enable, and then I'll put in these like I have Alexa and those different things. Okay, we'll hit OK. All right, so I've got those things set in. The most important ones are your database and your API secret. I called mine my secret. Now, if you want to pull your data in from somewhere else, you're going to want to use your bridge, and that's your Dexcom bridge. Now, I'll set mine up. I'm in the US. I'm going to say bridge server, and then I'm going to actually pull this out of here, and I'm going to hide for a second. You can't see me because I'm going to put in my username and my password because I don't want you to see that, friends. And you'll want to keep this to yourself as well. I don't know if you can hear, but the gentleman who's mowing my lawn has just arrived. So if you hear anything in the background, that is outside. Okay, so I'm going to bring those back. So what I've done is I put in my server and my username and my password here. So I've got my API secret, my bridge, my enables, most important thing, my database. I'm going to hit save. It's going to go and update my web application. Just take a moment. There we go. I can click back over here to overview. And we can go and click on this guy here. Now you see how it says, ooh, look at that. Nightscout is having trouble. Should be at least 12 characters. Looks like I need to come back. I'm going to hit configuration. I'm going to say API secret, and I'm going to change that. Click the little pencil. And I'm going to say, this is my secret. It's got to be long. Okay, so we're going to confirm that. I'm going to hit save. Each time you make a change to your configuration and you hit save, Nightscout will take a minute to recover from that. It has to restart. So you see how I'm hitting refresh here and it's not doing anything? That's because it's restarting. It's going to restart from this moment. So you got to give it just a second here. Now, of course, Azure is going to tell you that you can get faster support and things like that, and it'll be more memory and all those if you want to upgrade. I do pay for my my Nightscout. It's up to you. Other great options are things like t1pal.com. Okay, it worked. So redirecting you to the profile editor to make a new profile. Now, when Nightscout starts up for the first time, I'm actually not going to press that yet. I want to point out that we can go to our database and we might want to confirm that all of our collections got created. So you know that it worked if you have 7 collections: food, settings, treatments, device status, activity profile, and entries. If those did not get created, then you might want to start the process again. You might have to restart your web application. If you feel that you do need to restart your web application, you can just visit it and press the restart button. I'm going to go back over here. We have our profile editor. You're going to want to authenticate. You always have to do this the first time. This is my secret. I'm going to remember this device. I'm going to hit save on my default profile. Close it. Maybe hit refresh. There we go. So there's my free Nightscout site. Now I can go in here and make a couple of other small changes, like colors, database size, hit save, and there you go. So there's me right now. There's my blood sugar. I also tend to loop as well. You can see that our database is very small. I haven't set up my other settings, but I can go back and confirm now that I have a running Nightscout for free on Azure. We are using, in our resources, we can see we have Cosmos DB with Mongo. That's our database. We have an app service plan. That is our website. That is hosting this singular Nightscout web. This plan is the free plan. This is free. This is free. So at this point, you should be able to configure it any way that you want. Now, if you already have Atlas, you could certainly make an app service plan and point to Atlas. It's up to you. You can mix and match how you want, but this is all in Azure, working for free, should be free forever. It's worked out well for me. Leave some comments and let us know if this is helpful to you. I think it's pretty darn cool. Big thanks to Denver Britton from Azure who helped us set this up, to Ben West and Soka and all of our wonderful friends who work on Nightscout for their time.